Good morning. I'm excited to kick off the track for this morning on developing breakthrough customer experiences. So what is a breakthrough customer experience? We know it when we have one. It's a great experience. It delights customers. It meets them where they are. It creates brand loyalty. It encourages recommendations and repeated use. It changes attitudes. It makes users smile. It stays out of the way. We all aspire to delight our customers, to reach them wherever they are, to impress upon them how we can help them change their lives, change their work, and help make their world better. But breakthrough customer experiences, they're never accidents. They are created through diligence, through empathy, through understanding the user's context, and by wrapping ourselves around the problem to be solved, by experimenting and eliciting feedback, by trying really bold new ideas, and sometimes failing fast. It's never accidents. In 1941, there was a Swiss engineer named George de Mestral, and he returned from a hunting trip with his little dog, and when he came back, he found these little tiny burrs all over his shoes and his socks and all over his little dog. And George, being the curious engineer, he put those burrs under a microscope. So many burrs. Many of us have been through this same sort of walk covered in burrs, but George looked at the burrs under a microscope, and what he saw fascinated him. Each of those burrs had hundreds of microscopic little hooks, and those hooks were perfect at attaching to the little tiny loops in his socks and his dog hair, and in really any synthetic fiber. And George thought this was really interesting. So he iterated on it. He productized it. And what he did inspired countless use cases for what we know today as Velcro. Was Velcro an accident? How many millions or how many billions of walks were there on the earth before one of those walks turned into Velcro? But invention alone is not enough to create a breakthrough customer experience. The greatest customer experiences deliver what's expected, but in unexpected ways. And so breakthrough experiences are empathy, manifested through design. They defy the obvious and instead create new ways to interact, to ask, to give, and to receive. Many of you are familiar already with IDEO, whose design practices have become the model by which product designers and developers aspire. And so IDEO was hired by a very large hospital network to improve their patient experience. And so IDEO did what their practice dictates. They stepped into the shoes of the customers, those patients. And what they did blows my mind. They laid in bed, in a hospital bed, for hours, deeply empathizing with the situation that those customers were going through. How many of us have the discipline and the mental fortitude to put ourselves through the same kind of experience of laying in a hospital bed, empathizing with the sick and the dying in their darkest hour of need? Well, what the IDEO designers found, unsurprisingly, was this was a terrible experience. The hospital executives had always looked at the hospital from the lens of the administration and from the caregivers. But this time the designers, they iterated, they ideated, and they moved forward with a small handful of cost-effective but key improvements to the patient experience. So what did they do? Well, number one, after spending a lot of time staring at the ceiling, they found ways to decorate the ceiling, to make it more aesthetically pleasing for the people that would be lying in those beds. Number two, they covered one of the walls for each of the patient's room with a whiteboard. And the whiteboard would allow visitors who come to see the patient to leave notes and to form a connection. And number three, they changed the floor of the hospital and of the rooms so that there was a different color and a different style separating the hospital room from the hallway. This was important because what it did is it symbolized a transition from public space to private space. And for those patients, the private space was the hospital room, and that was their room and their place to recover and to get to wellness. And number 4, they put reverse view mirrors on all of the gurneys. That way, when they would be rolled around by doctors and nurses, they could see the faces of their caregivers, the people who were there to make them better and empathize with their situation. These were all very simple things. And in breakthrough experiences, tiny details matter. It is all about the tiny details. How do you even see those tiny details? As engineers and as designers, as developers, we see ourselves sometimes as modern Leonardo da Vinci's. Today's creation of every facet of humanity through digital re-architecture is really nothing short than the reinvention of modern society. Its most basic needs, connecting with our fellow humans, getting things like food and property, and taking care of our mental, our physical, our psychological, and even of our spiritual selves, have been and really continue to be nothing short but completely reinvented for this digital world. And yet, what we truly live for as builders, we know when we've made it, are those little tiny gasps of joy. Those gasps of joy from our users and our customers when we've done something, made something, shown them something that truly delights them. We live for those gasps of joy. And so today at FutureStack 2016, we're here to go deeper into this craft of building compelling digital experiences through our brilliant speakers, great hands-on training, and fascinating stories from actual New Relic customers who have sought to put this into practice, using their own data to help them understand how their applications perform so that they too can transform how they're engaging with customers. We seek to help you find and see those important little details and to help you to create those gasps of joy. So with that, I'm proud to hand over the stage to our first esteemed speaker, Tommy McClung, CTO from TrueCar. Tommy, please welcome.